Queen Elizabeth I crafted a public image of divine perfection, but her private rituals of cleanliness were a shocking, toxic performance of power and paranoia. Behind the iconic Virgin Queen persona, the ruler who defeated the Spanish Armada and forged a Protestant England, lay a deep, obsessive fear. It was a terror of aging, of illness, and of being seen as merely human. Her concept of hygiene had nothing to do with health. It was a strategic, daily reconstruction of a godlike image. And the methods she used were bizarre, dangerous, and utterly contradictory. Today, we dismantle the carefully constructed myth to reveal 5 of the most disturbing and unusual rituals Elizabeth employed in her war against time, nature, and reality itself. The final one reveals the profound psychological prison she built for herself. Let's start with her most famous and destructive indulgence, an obsession with sugar. In the 16th century, refined sugar was an extravagant luxury, a symbol of imperial reach and staggering wealth. Elizabeth didn't just enjoy it. She weaponized it as a display of England's prowess. Her tables groaned with marzipan sculptures, candied flowers, and syrupy conserves. But this sweet status symbol came with a horrifying price. What happens when the ultimate luxury becomes a tool of self-destruction? Dental care was medieval. The common remedy was a rough paste of crushed herbs and abrasive chalk. The Queen, however, used a paste containing more sugar. She was literally scrubbing her teeth with the very substance that was rotting them. The result was catastrophic. By her 50s, her teeth were described by ambassadors as blackened stumps. Her breath was reportedly foul, and her speech was at times muffled and unclear. Yet, she refused extractions, terrified of pain. In a grotesque twist of courtly fashion, her decay became a trend. Noble women, in a desperate mimicry of royal authority, began blackening their own healthy teeth with soot. A mouth of rot had been transformed, through sheer power of personality, into a coveted badge of elite status. In her court, even physical decay could be fashioned into a crown. This leads to the second pillar of her regime, a deep philosophical aversion to water. The common belief of the age held that bathing opened the pores to miasma, the poisonous air believed to carry plague. For Elizabeth, the risk was also deeply personal. A full immersion bath was a logistically daunting event, requiring a small army of servants to heat and haul water. More critically, it threatened her meticulously crafted surface. Water could ruin her elaborate, poison-based makeup. It could reveal the vulnerable woman beneath the monarch. Her solution was a ritual of dry cleaning. She changed her linen undergarments or smocks multiple times a day, believing the fresh cloth would draw impurities from the skin. For scent, her attendants dabbed her with rosewater and herb-infused vinegars. She was, by the standards of her time, considered fastidiously clean. She was perpetually swathed in perfumed layers of silk and velvet. But this was a fragrant illusion, a calculated performance of purity designed to replace the terrifying intimacy of actual washing. Is cleanliness a state of being or merely a convincing performance? The third and most dangerous ritual was the daily application of her iconic alabaster complexion. That legendary, poreless white mask was not skin. It was a weaponized cosmetic known as Venetian ceruse, a blend of white lead and vinegar. It smoothed wrinkles and hid scars, but it was also a slow, corrosive poison. It absorbed through her skin, causing lesions, hair loss, and systemic poisoning. For her lips and cheeks, she used vibrant reds made from cinnabar, a compound of toxic mercury. The symptoms, mood swings, tremors, memory fog, likely plagued her later years. She was quite literally painting her own death onto her face every morning. But she never stopped. Why? Because her face was not her own. It was the immortal face of the state. Portraits were created from approved face patterns, freezing her in an ageless youth. She banned mirrors in her private chambers and avoided harsh daylight. To wash her face would be to dissolve the legend of Gloriana, to admit to mortality. The mask had to stay on, even as it ate away at the flesh beneath. She traded her health for the immortality of an image. This fear of exposure brings us to the fourth ritual, the orchestration of scent as a force field. Elizabeth's world was one of powerful, controlled aromas. Her still rooms produced complex perfumes, herbal waters, and infused vinegars. She carried pomanders, perfumed metal balls, to hold to her nose in crowded, malodorous rooms. Her gloves, handkerchiefs, and even the rushes on the floor were soaked in lavender, rose, and civet. This olfactory bubble was a declaration of sovereignty. It screamed, "I am not of this earthy, sweaty world." As her health failed and her own body likely betrayed her with odors medicine couldn't fix, the perfumes grew stronger. Her wigs, often reddish gold, were stiffened with sugar water and powdered. They hid the thinning hair caused by lead poisoning. Every aspect of her bodily presentation was a carefully managed fiction, designed to distance the monarch from the frail human. She reportedly had a servant whose sole duty was to powder her shoulders in private, ensuring no glimpse of real skin ever escaped. Elizabeth had become both the artist and the artwork, the jailer and the prisoner of her own glorious illusion. At what point does the performance consume the performer? Finally, we must confront the grim reality that existed just beyond the perfume cloud, the sheer, unavoidable filth of Tudor palace life. Behind the tapestries and gold leaf, there was no sanitation. The Queen's own toilet was a close stool, an ornate box with a removable porcelain pot. Its keeper was the groom of the stool, a high-ranking nobleman whose intimate access granted political influence. For the hundreds of courtiers, chamber pots were emptied into open cesspits or simply thrown from windows. Gong farmers worked at night to haul away the waste, but the stench was pervasive. The palaces, for all their grandeur, were fundamentally unsanitary. Rushes on the floors, meant to be refreshed with herbs, often festered with old food and waste. Elizabeth's famous progresses, where her entire court traveled the country, were in part a way to escape the accumulating filth of one residence for the temporarily fresh air of another. This was the ultimate contradiction. The woman who feared water and scrubbed her skin with poison lived in a world swimming in literal human effluent. Her perfumed existence was a desperate and ultimately futile stand against the overwhelming biology of her time. In the end, Elizabeth I's approach to hygiene was not about cleanliness. It was about control. In a precarious political world where a queen's authority was perpetually questioned, her body became a sovereign territory to be fortified and mythologized. Every skip bath, every layer of toxic ceruse, every cloud of perfume was a strategic move in a lifelong campaign to appear invulnerable, ageless, and divinely ordained. She mastered the alchemy of power, transforming base human frailty into the gold of legend. She understood that to rule, she must first be perceived as above the very human condition she so fiercely embodied. If this exploration of the dark paradoxes behind a historical icon resonated with you, please give this video a like. It empowers winds of thought to delve deeper into the hidden truths of our past.